It's amazing what these young black men have accomplished for education and for America and for the black people recently. I first heard of Kwasi in New York, accepted into multiple, I think, 8 Ivy League schools, universities. And then I heard of Amhat from Oakland, and then Peoples from North Carolina. Now, this is shaking up the whole perception that people have about race. People believe that black people aren't, intelligent and smart and could accomplish such. But um, I'm sure that if opportunities were presented, others could have done this feat before. Um, I don't understand how in 1 year 3 of them would clip it. I hope though that this will continue to be a regular um, experience for black students. My position is that every race has people that have the potential to excel. White, black, yellow. Folks think only white folks got some significant talent and intellect and so on. But I believe every race has a group of people who, given the opportunity, they could accomplish similar feats. Asian, white could do the same. And so, in every race, also, you have people in the different levels. I call it the upper class in intellectuals, the middle class, and the low class in intellectuals, and even lower, and all that kind of stuff. But hitherto, and coming from overseas, it wasn't anything surprising to me because we run our countries and we could do exceptionally well if we weren't having significant problems from others who have big might and that could enforce things and send on a bagman and say, you don't compete with us, take this money and go home. And so my position is this: that why don't we just have an open, educational situation, and the best, whether it be white, black, or yellow, we just use them to be our leaders. So far, we only choosing the white folks, and I understand that white folks is their time. They beat out all the rest, and now they're the superpower in the world and so on. And you don't want the kids to maintain this thing and this facade and all that. But in real terms, we see what's happening here. We see Snowden, give out the secrets. We also see Bradley Manning with his antics and so many others. And I'm saying that if things continue as it's going to be, these same white boys going to roll up things, Bush them, Jeb Bush and all that. They're going to roll things up. And if we want to stem that, I think that we should because it don't seem as if Bradley Manning and Snowden have any real serious ability, but they've had position that require that kind of a mental acumen. And so obviously they don't have it, and this is what has sold the country out. So we should now start looking for bright people, and irrespective of color. And let us embrace brotherhood and let us build a place together. And the irony is that if you have significant input into the make of things, you're going to have more products, you're going to have more ideas and so on, because every race has a different experience. And bringing that experience to the marketplace, either in supply and demand, it's going to be dynamite. And I'm saying that if folks were looking out for America as they ought to be, and they were doing the right thing, you'd find that they will sort of distribute the resources in an equitable way. And because there's so many things I would like to have, but I don't have the money. And if I were to give them an opportunity with my training and experience and etc., I could get me some money. I could do some stuff which white folks won't be doing, because it seems as if they're going to go ahead and do their contribution to the GDP. And I'm talking about extra things now. My contribution wouldn't necessarily mean that one of them would have to drop out. They could keep going, but don't hold me back. And I can come with products and ideas that are different and that will make things work. And so I congratulate these brothers, but I have one bit of advice for them. Everybody is singing their praise and oh yes, and this is not the end of it. I see this thing, they'll have a fight until they die. I only hope not prematurely, not because they sort of lost sight of their true potential and true mission and so on. You see, going up to Ivy League, not necessarily that people might target them to destroy them, but you know, you got to keep watching who you associate with. You know, in schools, you have, I've seen folks yaga and say, stop the talking, let's get on with the work. So I say, you know what, you go over there. And this guy sits down, he does some work, and he's saying, wow. Now, if you had the courage and the fortitude to say, well, you know what, I really want to make a difference in my life, and I'm not going to be with these guys that just wasting time. I love them. They're my friends. I'm going to see them and say, hey, what's up? And when it's, you know, free time, break, lunch, whatever, we're going to talk. But in school, I want to get my work done because this is the only pathway out of whatever or to wherever you want to go. And so they have to be choosing the friends at university because there's guys up there. It's not as if it's in the speedway races, and as soon as the race starts, somebody run into the guy who they don't want to win and smash up his car, and then their friend will win. It might be like that. It might be an intentional thing. But in choosing the wrong crowd, it can end up with a whole bunch of serious problems. Start doing drugs, start doing alcohol, start carousing, start slacking up on the scholarship, and then the next thing you know, they either throw them out or they pick up a couple of felonies along the way. So I'm saying that this fight is not over until they die, not prematurely, but when you know, the vital energy runs out. You know, I could accept that as the normal process. And when they graduate again, they go on the job again. They have to be watching out because I'm sure many of them, especially people, he says that his parents, they did the right thing or whatever, and parents have a lot to do with it. And sometimes if it weren't for the helps that some folks have gotten in spite of the intellect, you know, because students, children don't really understand the big picture, and the parents would say, come son, do this, do that, and keep them focused. But you know, eventually they go to school by themselves, and I hope they've learned the discipline. I'm gonna say, well, hey, this is for me, it's not for mom again, it's for me and for the country. So when they go on the job, that fella's gonna say, hey boy, this weekend we had some fun, man. Then we had a lot of skirts out there, man, smoke in the air, man, it was such a blast, bro. You missed half your life. You see what I'd be there? Goes in, you see this big smoke in the place, and them yell and this and that and whatever, get hooked on something real quick times, you know, spend out his job, his savings, his wife and kids, his house, and just end up on the skid row. When I was in LA, fella said, man, he was working at some big attorney-ish kind of guy, some office, and he started smoking and he ended up on skid row. I heard there was a judge, he was also homeless and on skid row. You know, it's very easy. Oh, I met this guy, he said, man, when I was in high school, I used to be doing calculus with trigonometry and chemistry and physics. He was maybe thinking he was going to be a big scientist or whatever, but I know what he was smoking, but he ended up on skid row, and he just don't understand how he's there. And he's powerless to really move out because, I mean, I don't want to get into a religious talk with the devil and all that and stuff. I'm saying that sometimes people just have to say, you know what, forget the devil and all that. I know he wants to destroy me, but it's me. I'm feeling the pain of, you know, the addiction and the jail and all that is go down in the jail and the whole 9 yards, police beating you across your head with bat shooting at you and all that. It's me going to go through that, and therefore, Satan, you have to get somebody else to go through that. I'm not going to put myself through that. I mean, is it possible that somebody could say that? But then he starts very simple, you know, the disobedient in home and in school, and start smoking a little weed, and then it go up to a little crack and a little heroin, and then, you know, cocaine and everything, and then it just don't seem as if they could see the difference and make the right decision. So I'm saying, great, you have accomplished this feat in high school. They had a great career. One got 5.0, 21 points in SAT, and going to Ivy League now. I'm saying that keep the discipline up, get through Ivy League, and when you get a job, don't lose, you know, your mind and get caught up with the guys in the office who just wasting time and who are going to destroy you, you know what I mean? So that I hope that they have a great life, a great career, continue serving and making illustrious and yeoman's contribution to the society and to the world. And may they have a great life and end up at the end of days when they're going to take in those last breaths and they have no regrets. They say, I've lived a good life, not necessarily in luxury and in privilege and all that stuff, but balance, helped others, made a contribution, got good remuneration, had a good life, a good example, and so on. I think this is what to me going to be the most important thing. Fine, you've done so far, but keep the discipline up and keep going forward, and encourage others along the way. Give them the secret, because I believe that life is so illustrious and vibrant and dynamic that nobody could hold you back from what you're ready to accomplish. In my experience, I had jobs that they weren't big jobs, but in my country there's a poor place out there, driving a little vehicle and getting a couple dollars extra, your paycheck was dynamite. And I showed fellas how to drive the vehicle, and on 3 occasions these guys end up taking the job from me. And I kept showing people things, and I'm sure all of them died by now because they're back home and they don't have the type of resources and all that stuff that I've had in Canada and America here. And I'm still happy they were shifting me out there, and perhaps if they hadn't shafted me, I might have still hold on to that job, and still be there and so on. And my life is not necessarily fantastically better. I mean, I sometimes wish I were back in my country. Maybe could have been the president of my country or something, make a big contribution from down there or whatever. But still, when I look at what I've accomplished and privately and so on, because folks don't seem to want to, give you a shout out when you're making a yeoman's contribution. So I have to tell myself, I'm doing very well, and I've done better than if I were probably back in my country, because I'm sure that I've made a significant contribution in the world. I have other things I'm working on that could put this world in a better place. And well, I probably could have gone to Oxford, London, and Cambridge if I had a better home, if we weren't as poor as we were. But still, I didn't say, well, I didn't give up and say, well, with my smarts, I'm going to be a nice drug lord. I got all this smarts. I can hide and, got men doing the work out there, and I just collecting the money or whatever. Otherwise hurting yourself in a variety of ways. But I kept the faith up, and I'm still learning. Still bullish on education, still thinking that one day I might make 6, 8 Ivy League schools, but as I said, I don't know if I'd gone to Oxford, London, and Cambridge if I would have still been able to do what I've done. For me personally, I know what I've done. I don't know if I might have been able to do it. Going to Oxford, London, Cambridge, going back to my country, running for government, somebody get jealous, next thing, you get assassinated or whatever. So I never know how life goes, and I'm happy with the path I've taken. I still have hope that one day I'm going to get some justice, and things going to move right. And I just hope that these young men who have distinguished themselves will not have perverted, malicious, and dangerous people to come and intentionally ensnare them and try to destroy them simply because they're black and have accomplished somewhat. I hope that everybody would be proud of them as Americans, and they can't rule out and can't dismiss ethnicity and race, etc., but realizing that we're here for every other person, not only for our own race but for everybody, and help people whether they're of your race or not, and bring glory to God and to country and to family and to self. I think some of these ideals would mark well if they could just get a glimpse of it, or if they are on the same path, I say congratulations. If not, see if you could get some wisdom from this little presentation and just succeed successfully.